Did you know your heart is talking right now, constantly? Not with words, though, but with this silent, secret, electrical language. And for over a century, we've had a way to listen in. In this explainer, we're going to decode that language together. I mean, it seems like magic, right? That this little jagged line, this simple squiggle on a piece of paper, can tell us so much about the most important organ in your body. So, how does it work? Well, that's the big question we're digging into today. So, at its most basic, an electrocardiogram, or ECG for short, is really just a visual record. It's a graph that maps out the tiny electrical storm happening inside your chest with every single beat. So, think of it this way. It's not a picture of the heart muscle, it's a picture of its energy. Now, to understand that graph, we've got to go back to basics. We need to look at the 5 fundamental properties that let the heart create this electricity in the first place. These are like the ground rules, the physics that makes the whole thing possible. All right, first up is something called automatism. This is just a fancy way of saying the heart has its own internal power pack. It doesn't need the brain to tell it when to beat. It generates its own sparks, completely on its own. It's this incredible ability that lets a heart keep beating for a short time, even when it's outside the body. So, making a spark is one thing, but that energy has to go somewhere, right? That's where conduction comes in. This is basically the heart's wiring system. It's a super efficient network that carries those electrical signals from the starting point to every single muscle cell that needs to get the message. Next, we've got excitability. This is all about the heart cells themselves. When that electrical signal arrives through the wiring, the cells are just waiting. They're ready to react. They get excited, and that excitement actually generates its own electric current, creating this amazing chain reaction that just washes over the heart. And this is the payoff. This is where the magic really happens. Contractility. All that electrical activity isn't just for show. It causes the heart muscle to physically squeeze, to contract, and to pump blood. This is the exact moment electricity becomes physical action. And finally, there's refractoriness. Okay, so after a cell fires off, it needs a break, right? It has to reset. This is a mandatory cooldown period. It's a brilliant little safety feature that stops the heart from getting chaotic signals and makes sure there's a proper pause between beats. It's absolutely essential for steady rhythm. So think of this cooldown like a shield. For a split second, the heart muscle is totally protected. It just will not respond to any new signals. But, and this is a big but, that shield isn't perfect. A very, very strong abnormal signal can sometimes punch through before the heart is fully reset. And understanding this difference is so crucial for figuring out irregular heart rhythms. Okay, so we've got the 5 principles down. Now let's put them to work. We're going to follow a single electrical spark as it takes a trip through the heart's incredible conduction superhighway. The whole journey kicks off at the sinus node. That's the heart's natural pacemaker. The signal then spreads across the top 2 chambers, telling them to contract. It pauses for just a moment at the AV node, kind of like a car at a stoplight, before it rockets down this central highway called the bundle of His. And finally, it branches out through the Purkinje fibers, reaching every little corner of the bottom chambers and triggering that big, powerful final squeeze. Now get this. The heart has backup systems. It's brilliant. The sinus node is the boss, firing away at 60 to 90 times a minute. But if it fails, the AV node can step in as a backup, just at a slower pace. And if that fails, well, the bundle of His can keep things going but at a much, much slower rate. It's a whole chain of command designed for one thing: survival. Okay, so we've seen the journey happening on the inside, but how do we actually see this from the outside? How does this super complex internal process turn into that simple line on the ECG? Let's connect those dots. It all boils down to a really basic concept from physics: the dipole. See, when a heart cell gets excited, one side of it becomes negative and the other side becomes positive. So for just a split second, that one single cell turns into a teeny tiny battery with a positive and a negative end. Now imagine millions and millions of those heart cells, all becoming tiny little batteries at once. Well, the sum of all those tiny batteries creates one big, unified electric field, a field that's actually strong enough that we can detect it on the surface of your skin. And that's the secret. The ECG machine is basically just a very sensitive voltmeter. It's not measuring the heartbeat itself, but the changes in the direction and the strength of this electric field as it moves through the heart. When the line goes up, when the line goes down, it's just drawing the story of that moving energy. When you put it all together, it's really breathtaking. This entire process, from that first little spark to the final squeeze, is a perfectly coordinated symphony, playing out in complete silence inside your chest, beat after beat. And it is relentless. This symphony performs itself over 100,000 times every single day. It's this intricate electrical dance with astonishing precision and reliability, and it's all happening just to keep you going. The heart's secret language is just one of countless complex, silent processes happening inside you at this very moment. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other incredible systems